My name is Andrew Froehlich. I'm the LD for Lake Street Dive, LD programmer, designer, director. I live in Austin, Texas currently. I kind of came up and cut my teeth in Colorado. Lived there for a long time, grew up there. I started at the Fox Theater in Boulder as an intern and kind of grew from there. Worked at Brown Note Productions out of Denver for a number of years. Learned a lot there, and then kind of spread my wings into just straight touring after that. And about 2015, I got just on the road, and I've been on the road since.
Cool, very cool. So been about 10 years doing this on the road, then. That's amazing. The second question was, how did you get into lighting design in this industry?
I kind of started, as a lot of us do, I kind of started in audio. I've minimal experience in that back in the day. And I was working for my college. I went to CU Boulder as well, and was working for the program council there and the Fox Theater. And we got to a point where they said, everybody has to stage manage. So you're going to intern, you're going to stage manage, and then you can go to a department. And they needed more LDs, so I was going to get paid quicker. It was an unpaid internship, So I was going to get more opportunities doing lights instead of audio. So I jumped right into it and just really fell in love and had some incredible mentors along the way. Learned how to do things great, how not to do things from them, just really got into that element of it. Lots of par cans to start, then into moving lights, and struggling to master that beast early on. And then from the Fox and CU, I went to Brown Note, and I fell in love with the tech side of things too. And I have always considered myself, more apt for teching than programming and operating, because it's just so much fun. It's high pace. You got to be sharp. Lots of different things. And it's been a really fun journey, and the things that I've learned from the really excellent people I've learned from have helped me. I feel like I have a pretty good mark on what I do, and can share it with other people and get to work at high levels with other people that have it as well.
What was your opinion or experience with laser specifically before you started working with X Laser, or even considering using our specific gear?
I have no experience operating lasers historically. This is my first. This year's the first time doing it. I've only been adjacent to it the whole time. So coming from white printer cables run across the stage, and you have to have like a literal genius as a tech to be able to fix the lasers, and all these computer-based programming things, and now it's a fixture. It's a lighting fixture, and a high quality one at that. And it's been really fun working with X Laser, because I didn't even know these existed. I didn't know this was possible. I thought it was going to have to be external programming, things like that. But it's great, and it's not that I need control, but it's great having the full control of everything and knowing where I want this to do this when, and not having to have a guy be like, well, what about this? Which is these fixtures are really great for that, and they've been rock solid for us.
One of the things you talked about was it's just another fixture. You can use it really. There's obviously some differences, not just with what the output itself, but also the programming and zoning and all that. But what, in your opinion, makes lasers so distinctive as lighting fixtures?
It's different. They're completely different quality of light, quality of color. It's always really fun to see those beams. And in this application, we have kind of a little different application. We point them straight at stage. They are meant to be. The band saw early on in the design, they saw a look that had a cone over each of their positions, and they fell in love with it. So we said, "Cool, we're doing lasers now for Lake Street Dive." And so we don't crowd scan, we don't do any of that. But the impact that can have, that I've seen from really excellent operators, or even it's okay, but there's really cool beams over the crowd. It just changes the game. It changes the entire vibe of a song or set. Especially when back in the day it was seeing bands that had like 22 lasers, and that was their whole show.
Water cooled or whatever. Yeah, but now it's obviously see how compact they are. But things have come a long way, and
a long way.
They kind of give you a punch that you may not even be able to get with even the sharpest point fixtures now.
100%, yeah.
But also something that we've talked about before, like with others, is that you probably saw in the demo when you came to our space, you can get really interesting color combinations that you just can't quite get from a regular fixture, like berry and lime and orange, like that you can obviously match too, but still like you can get those that not just the punch, but like the almost additional intensity in the palette that it gives you.
100%.
So we would like to see that as well.
The saturation of things, I mean, it's so much more of a true color, and that's one challenge with lighting fixtures is no matter what, every single one of them is different. You have to, if you want a contiguous rig, you got to spend the time to match everything, and it can be a little more difficult. And with lasers, it's a lot more precise, and sometimes not as forgiving. You know, you got to be a little more careful with it, but the quality of that light is just so cool. And we have 10 watts on this rig. It's sometimes it can be a little. I can take over the lasers a little bit too much, but they're there, and when they do look good, they look fantastic.
But what kind of feedback have you received about the lasers from others, whether you said the band's initial reaction, the rest of the crew, etc., just having them on the rig?
Everybody's very, very satisfied with them so far. Bridget Carney, the bassist of the band, she's so funny. She'll see me, on tour. We don't see each other for a few hours, and then first time we see each other, she'll be like, "Andrew, those lasers!" She loves them, and it's super fun for them because, again, the nature of the light, they can see exactly what's happening below them and be like, "There's lasers on," and they really enjoy it. Management has been very, very happy with a couple of the big specific looks we wanted to achieve. I think we've accomplished well, and everyone thinks it's really neat, and the exposition of it too throughout the set and how we use them has been a very fun thing to figure out.
What one or two things surprise you the most about using them?
The color gradient thing, where you can like you have different options of you can have this be red and blue, and it stays red and blue, or it swings from red to blue. That blew my mind.
Yeah, because with the builders, you can do pre or post of the prisms. You can have it go before or after, and that just gives you it gets fixture in a fixture in a fixture in a fixture. So it's just cool. You can get really creative. It's
really wild how that just that color element alone, and all the different patterns, and you guys learning that you guys make them and then upload them into the fixture. That's so cool.
What do you think other designers would benefit from knowing about lasers, or want to learn about lasers that they don't know now, or has potentially been holding them back, that was kind of got you over the edge, or got you where we are today with having them on the rig?
That's a good question. Again, it's kind of specifically for this rig and my experience with them, being able to use them in this way. This is a pop Americana band. This is not a laser band necessarily. And I think what we've done with them is really, it's just and my experience with it now is the versatility of them. Because everyone's seen the big crowd scan and Odessa's show, which is amazing, but to be able to use it in a much more demure, I use that word all the time. I've used it historically, but I'll use it now. It's more demure, and the ability to see that these aren't just, slam and jam, dance song,
flash and trash.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Going back to the fixtures themselves a little bit, just to get your thoughts on a few of the different parameters, I guess. Your thoughts on color, just in general, how they behave and how they can cooperate with the rest of the rig.
The color is so incredibly saturated that I've struggled to not use them as my base color mixer, because a lot of times what I'll do is I'll find we have Roby lighting, so I'll take those. They're fantastic color mixing, and that'll be my base for everything I do. I get this one fixture right and then match it all to that. And I've kind of had to stop myself from redoing everything and going off the lasers, but getting them to be able to mix to what I have has been really, really nice. Super easy. Again, can be a little less forgiving than you'd like, but the quality of the light on the color is just incredible.
Cool. And then this is, I guess, more of the patching setup, working with the console that you use, just in terms of integrating with other fixtures. I guess this would speak more to Mercury itself about the actual output of the fixtures, but just in terms of, again, going from not having used them before to patching them to your rig, what has that been like?
It's been a breeze. I'm on Grand MA 3, cool. Which they actually had to build the personality for this tour. And it's great. It's a learning process, and with the new software, I'm constantly learning new things. And I have notes that I'm been given to Adam about where we need to improve the personality for the fixture. The Grandimate 2 personality is dead on and was excellent to use, and it's literally just like patching a light. It's not hard at all. You figure out your builder stuff and how many you want and all that. I do all of my mapping externally. I don't use the masters on there. I probably could. It's just another one of those, like, I haven't used these before, and that's a whole extra element I don't have time to learn right now. But yeah, just dead easy getting them integrated.
Awesome. Similar to that, just with the zoning process, I know, like with a lot of spot and other type fixtures, you have to focus those anyway. But in terms of lasers, you definitely have to zone. For this rig, especially, it is also not just for when you're shooting over the audience or out of the audience, but when you're shooting on the stage, there are some zoning. Every stage is a little different, but what's the zoning process been like in terms of speed, general usability, things like that?
It's been pretty easy. I've learned that they kind of operate like a projector in the sense that they're high heavy, so when I focus the actual physical fixture, I really have to kind of get it pointing straight downwards, because I do not hit the pit. I keep everything on stage, so we keep our variants safe. And so I have faced challenges where I messed up a little bit and didn't tip it down far enough, and have my zone is now that big where it needs to be that big, but it's never been a problem. And it might, there might be one part that gets a little cut off here and there, but it's super easy to handle.
Good. And then this is more of a kind of a creative side. Your thoughts on having, what it's like to design an entire show in a rig, all you, versus having to have a separate laser person controlling them, and then how that kind of affects your creative options and also just the overall look of the show. I've
perhaps a detriment to myself. I've never really collaborated with my designs. I've worked on other people's shows and on other people's designs and operated those, but I've never really. Well, that's a lie. Mikey Cummings and I did program when I first got with this band, we programmed the show together. With this new software, I had to reprogram everything. I couldn't just update things. So it's been a very unilateral process, and for better or worse, I don't have much critical feedback as to like how it actually looks. We have Emily Cox is out of Nashville. She's our creative designer for the new Rainbow, the whole thing we have, and we've been working together, but it's a lot more of, she puts a lot of trust in me, and I'll put the look together, I'll put the song together, and she'll just say, that's great, or let's touch this real quick. It's been an interesting thing, so I haven't really collaborated much, and that was kind of a fear of mine, is I didn't want to jump into a brand new type of fixture and a brand new modus operandi for this, so I figured I'd just go ahead and take it over and keep it in-house. Plus, we're keeping it so simple, we're not lasers every song or anything, so we figured that would be the best way to go.
In terms of just as a fixture in general, what have you seen from your experience with using them? What are lasers better at compared to more traditional moving light fixtures?
Speed.
Yeah, there's no moving black. It's just
they are fast. They're really fast, and just the amount of things that they can do. It's almost endless, and I get to punch around and play with things, and I have a few things that I locked in really early that I like, but then reprogramming for Red Rocks, we had some extra songs come in that we don't generally play. I put together a look for one, and it was awesome. And we don't play the song regularly, but everyone's like, can you take that and make it one of our songs? It looks really cool. I'm like, yeah, I'll figure it out. But yeah, just the versatility of everything that they can do.
Cool. And then speaking to the other side of that, and also things that we can remedy or somewhat not, but just the limitations, maybe lasers compared to other fixtures, just that you've experienced along the way, just compared to other stuff.
I mean, an obvious limitation is the scan. When you have too much going on, it starts to flicker a bit, and the refresh rate drops. Obviously, that's nothing anyone can. We can't fix physics, so it's just something you got to live with and work around it. I have noticed on these that the knee on the dimmer is a little. It's kind of sharp, and you get to about 50, and then it just goes away. It's not. It doesn't seem. Maybe it could be an operator error thing. Could be a dim curve that I need to set up, but that's really the only withholding that I've seen of these fixtures is sometimes I want it to be a nice slow fade, but then it goes
Yeah, that's interesting and good to know, not just for what you are able to do with them, but also so we can do what we can to make them even easier to use, ideally, and just take that into the next patch of Mercury or whatever it is, just to make these better for everybody.
And if I may, that's actually one thing I'm really happy about working with X-Laser specifically, and the Mercuries, because I can't call Roby and say, you need to fix this in the Esprit. I can call you guys and say, hey, this isn't really working well for me, and you're going to develop it, and you're going to take it back and figure out what to do with it, and that's so cool to me.
That's really important to us. I mean, that's like why we try to live, and operate that way, just because we have always, even since 15 plus years ago, since the company started, our whole thing has been making lasers as easy to use for everybody, no matter what. So we're trying to keep that running through what we do now.
It's great.
Just a couple more on the Mercury side of things and this part. Just your experience with the physical, units themselves, whether it's things like build quality, the interactive, like the UI on the back, like the menu system, etc. What like your experience has been just from how they're physically built and how they're used to rig to, all that stuff.
I love the menus, and we lighting nerds are sticklers for a good menu, and good buttons and things like that. And they're really easy to navigate, really easy to get around, super clear, understandable. I'm definitely very impressed with that part. The one other thing is with those is like, it's kind of the way it's built and the nature of the way I use them with kind of pointing downwards. It's really tough to get that angle with the yoke and the plugs and everything. And that's nothing I would bring up necessarily, because I know I'm doing this in a very different way than is the normal application.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense. And as with most technologies, TVs, computers, whatever, it keeps getting smaller and smaller.
Oh yeah.
So like what used to be a 30 or 40 watt would fit inside the current 10 watt fixture.
Man.
So like they've really come a long way. So
that's crazy.
That's for the future. But anything else you want to talk about that we haven't talked about so far with your experience with Mercury, these fixtures, X-Laser support, really kind of open-ended for you to address, if anything?
I feel like I've pretty well covered. I gotta say, I can be whiny little guy sometimes, and I have not had any complaints. I haven't had any strife with working with these lasers. Adam has been wonderful. Everybody on your staff has been wonderful. Grant at Strictly he was the one who pushed us into this. And yeah, it was a bit of a cold call to Grant, and luckily I had a couple connections and was able to get his number, and we talked to him, and he immediately figured out that we're going to go with Mercury, because I need a lighting fixture for a laser. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I pretty much said, like, I'm just very impressed with the whole thing, and there's not a lot of downside that I've seen so far.
It's great. Yeah, it's great. I was going to say this is easy to say on night one of the tour, but
yeah, well, I mean, we had a whole run with it. We had 6 weeks with it, and
that's really good to hear. This is the last thing for this part. Just to plug yourself, your company, what you are, what you do, and where we can find you.
I do not have a company. I am an employee of Lake Street Dive, and I love that very much. Cool. Yeah, I'm at Fro Light Show on Instagram. And yeah, I can't really be found many other places.
Okay.